What is food noise?
Something I struggle with that I really haven't talked much about. Have you ever heard of food noise?
I had no idea what food noise was until the food noise went away.
So a lot of folks on GLP-1 medications will talk about the food noise in their head being quieted.
And we're going to talk about it too, food noise over social media right now with people weighing in on what it is and how to quiet it. But a recent New York Times article questions whether the phrase is really just a replacement for hunger, a basic human need, as we all know. The writer isn't the only one who finds the reframing of this concerning. Dr. Natalie Gentile with Direct Care Physicians of Pittsburgh joins us now to share her thoughts on what's behind this trend. I'm so glad we're here and we're talking about this.
Me too.
So let's talk first. What is this new phrase, food noise? What is it?
The way I see it described through my patients is that constant thinking about food, what's the next meal, the cravings around it, and really just this obsession with their food.
And so is that a bad thing? Is it a good thing? I mean, we listen to our body cues. So is that the appropriate thing that should be happening?
I think our culture has had so much trouble understanding what hunger and satiety are. Right? And so if we start to give a name to what actually might be just a normal drive, hunger, and we start to call it a problem, then we are going to try and fix it with something.
So how do we know the difference between it? Because some people do become obsessive. I mean, look at everything that's thrown our way, from some of the commercials that you might see, even all of the food posts that you're seeing on social media. All of that can kind of cue your body to start thinking more about food. And is that necessarily a bad thing? How do we know the difference?
It takes so much unpacking, and I think that it really, you have to dial down in on what's your relationship with food, what's your relationship with your body and your body image, and that'll start to answer some of those questions. It's not a bad thing for every person.
Right. So let's talk about the differences between, food noise and maybe some obsessive thoughts about food. Eating disorder, disordered eating. I mean, like you said, there's a lot to unpack here.
All of these things kind of blend into each other. So, for example, the word orthorexia, which we've talked about on one of our other episodes together, this obsession with healthiness, this obsession with healthy behaviors and healthy eating, that might be also characterized by a lot of food noise. There might be other people, though, that have been told for so long, you shouldn't be eating, you need to cut down on what you're eating. And really what they're having is hunger that they've been told is food noise.
So can we talk about, I mean, we're seeing, again, all over social media. So is there somebody responsible for pushing this or for hearing more about it?
I don't think necessarily there's one particular person. I think that with the advent of the GLP-1 agonists, these medications that are the injectable weight loss, Ozempic, Wegovy, now Mounjaro and Zepbound, these medications are bringing to light the discussion around food noise and are being touted as a solution for what is perceived as a problem, which is your hunger, your obsession with food, and the constant, feelings around your food.
Right. I mean, because for some people, as they're describing it in some of these videos, the food noise is driving them to overeat, which again, you have to look at each situation individually, right?
I see this in clinical practice day in and day out. That is a very real thing, what people are experiencing with this food noise, or what they call food noise. And these medications certainly do affect that food noise. But we need to dial back and understand, is it a problem in the first place? Or are we really just trying to silence people's understanding of their own bodies and their hunger mechanisms?
For some people who are weighing in, they see it as a good thing. And again, that might then push this narrative that we should not be thinking about food. So there could be this downward spiral almost.
I think that women in particular are susceptible to this, right? In our society, we want women to be thinner. We want them to fit a certain body type. That's constantly being pushed. And then who's having the conversations around their food most often? Women. And who are being told that they need to diet, cut back on what they're eating? Women. And so now we have this solution for it that I think is very much being pushed toward women, and it's just another opportunity to silence our understanding of it.
One of the things that you are a big proponent of, something you practice yourself, is really having this very close doctor-patient care model. How does all of this impact that relationship?
So I have many patients who come into my practice asking for weight loss medications, or they desire weight loss, period. I run a weight neutral practice, so I don't weigh them the first moment they walk in the door. So let's start there. And then the conversation begins with, why do you want these medications? Why do you want to lose weight? And it might at first seem like, why is she asking me that? Isn't it obvious? No, it's not. I mean, some people really do have, varying reasons and outside influences that are really weighing in on this decision and this desire. And having that doctor-patient relationship to unpack all of that is going to end up helping us no matter what we choose as the path forward.
And neutral care, is this something that many doctors, because I feel like that's the routine. You go into the doctor's office and immediately you're weighed, and it just becomes part of the normal practice.
And on top of that, people who are coming into the doctor's office in bigger bodies or at higher body mass index, even for a sinus infection, might be told, did you think about weight loss? It's not even pertinent for that visit, but
Right.
it really, I think, highlights the fact that that's how we're trained in medicine. We are trained to think that weight is the be-all, end-all enemy, the number on the scale is the enemy, and we need to combat it in any way possible immediately.
And so I'm even thinking of my own doctor's office with the BMI chart that's on the wall. All of that kind of feeds into this idea that we need to fit a certain category, right?
Yes, and that's just the reality is that number is not applicable to every person that walks into the office. And when we start to categorize people into that, and send them after visit summaries with, talking about weight loss when that hasn't even been discussed in the visit face to face, these are the subliminal messages that are constantly bombarding patients.
What would you say to people who are listening at home, who maybe haven't had these honest conversations with their doctor, maybe they don't have this relationship period, but if they are hearing all of the talk about food noise, how do they begin that conversation? How do you reach them?
Yeah, so I always am recommending don't gaslight yourself. So I think that if people are seeing these conversations and saying, maybe there is something wrong with me, maybe my weight is because I'm, overeating too much, start to unpack that a little bit, start to address, your hunger cues. Do you even know what it feels like to be full? I have so many patients who say they have no idea what that feels like. They don't understand what hunger is and satiety. And there are ways to unpack this with therapists, intuitive eating guides. There's ways to go through this in a process that works for you if it's not going to be specifically with your doctor.
Oh my, this is like a whole another topic, because I'm wondering, because when I think full, I think of that like that leading back Thanksgiving feeling, but that's not necessarily full.
Correct.
You've done too much. All right, well, I know what we're going to talk about next time then. We have that. Dr. Gentile, thank you so much as always. Really great stuff. And if you're interested in checking out Direct Care Physicians of Pittsburgh or Rebel Wellness, we're going to have more information on our website, kdka.com/talkpittsburgh.